So welcome back everyone to another week of meditations and exploring meditation as a way of connecting to ourselves. So it's my absolute pleasure to introduce Charya Hilton here today, who's based in Newquay. And do you want to give us a little bit of a description of the work that you do, and perhaps even just a little introduction of kind of how you've used meditation, or how meditation has kind of come into your life over the years. So welcome.
Hello, I'm Charya, and I'm a rapid transformation coach, which means I like to make things happen quickly, because I've found over years and years and years of working in this coaching therapy field that it's not really necessary to take years and years and years to change. And one of the things that does really help change is meditation. And I got into meditation probably about 35 years ago. And that was because I joined a group of people where meditation was fundamental to what we were doing. Yeah, it was like a therapeutic stroke meditation thing. And it was very dramatic for me what happened through doing that. And I've lived in 3 different therapeutic communities that were based on meditation, where meditation was the fundamental premise. So although it was therapy, and 2 of them were for drug addiction, there were drug addiction units or addiction units of all kind of addictions. It was always, the fundamental thing was always meditation first, and then the rest built on top. And the meditations were very different to what most people do in meditation, I imagine. And they were very cathartic, very movement-oriented meditation. So it was all about initially expressing your feelings, allowing your feelings to come up and expressing them, and letting all that go, and then settling into a stillness. And the kind of theory is that doing that kind of rapid emotive stuff allows you to settle and kind of be a lot clearer about stuff, and also you get that reflection time on what's happened in that cathartic or expressive state. And so I don't still do those expressive ones anymore myself, because they are like very energetic. I'm 73 and I don't really want to jump up and down and scream and yell all, but you know, I do think they're great. My preferred things now, I do a lot of Vipassana, but I also do, my favorite one is dancing meditations, you know, where you just dance, and then you come to stillness. That I really, really love. Have you got another question for me?
Well, that the sort of the meditation, that kind of expressive, releasing feelings and then finding stillness, is there a name for that approach, or is that the Osho kind of approach to meditation?
Yeah. I mean, I'm an Osho sannyasin, which is what Charya, and so that's been the background to everything I've done over many years, like 30 whatever years, 35 years I suppose. And it's modified it's modified over time. And like we've got in that organization, we were kind of given 108 meditations, like bash. And basically, I suppose I've probably done about 50 of them over the years. And not all of them are expressive in that way. Some are very, like there's hugging meditations, there's meditations where you just give energy out. But they're all based on being aware of your emotions, and that emotions actually are not you, and that they're just energetic forces that come and go, and we kind of attach labels onto them. And when we attach the label, we get a feeling that we think is that, you know, we think like, rather than sadness is coming and going, we go, I am feeling really sad, which gives your body, and your body reacts to that, and you feel certain things. You then attach and this judgment that there's good and bad emotions, and there aren't. There are just sensations, and they come and they go and they change. And that for me was one of the real gifts, that once I understood that I attached some thought to that, which then, and that thought, like I do anyway, that thought has an impact on my body, and my body then goes, oh, so this is what that's all about. And that's not pleasant sometimes. So you go, oh, that's a bad feeling, rather than it's just an emotion. And emotion me is like energy in motion. You know, that's all it is. And so you just, if once you can, and I'm not saying I can always do that by any means, but like the theory is there behind me to go, okay, if I just sit with this and allow it rather than try and do something about it or with it, then it will go, and this too shall pass. And it doesn't mean, and that applies to what we call good ones as well as bad ones. You know, you can feel blissful, and then 10 minutes later you think, well, where did that go? You know?
Yeah. And so do you see sort of the emotion being energy that comes through, and then we might attach a thought to that emotion? Do you see kind of like the emotion is the thing that comes first and then it's the thought, or is it the thought that comes first and then the emotion, or is it just this like symbiotic dance between the two?
I think in my way of looking, the theories kind of I work on is like thought decides everything. If you can watch your thoughts and see what effect that has, because every thought has a physical and a kind of emotional, mental reaction in your body. But they're so like close, you know, it's impossible to find that gap. But if we can find that, and meditation sometimes allows you to find that gap where you go, I'm kind of creating that in myself by my reaction, my thinking, you know. And like, I think why I love the work I do is that it all comes down to thought. You know, I'm always looking at what is the thought going on here? What is this person saying, doing, being, and what thought is that related to? Because if you can take control and charge of your thoughts, then you can have the life you want to live. And it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a millionaire or whatever, but you know that your experience of your life is going to be so dramatically different.
Like a sense of freedom and balance and all those things, rather than the material.
Well, I mean, you know, I think I've got no problem with the material world. Obviously, I kind of like comfort. You know, I've never been someone to go and live in a teepee. That's not my style. You know, I like my car. I like my nice things, and I've tried that, but it doesn't work for me. I'm not, you know, I'm quite clear in what I like. But it's not. I haven't got a judgment. I just don't like it. You know, well, I suppose it is a judgment, but it's I just don't like it. You know, I like other things. That's fine. I've got preferences, should we say? But yeah, I think it is more about, it's like, to me, it's it is funny, because although we're talking about the thought creates the feeling, and it's how do I want to feel? So what thought is appropriate to that? You know, like when I'm doing manifesting, for example, which I'm really into, to me, the anchor for anything you want to manifest is how are you going to feel when you land there? And it might not look at anything like you imagined it, but the feeling, when you get the feeling you want to feel, but then you have to create that feeling with your thoughts. You know, you sit and you think, what feeling do I want? And then you think about that and you get a feeling, and then that will take you to where you want to go. So yeah, I'm really curious. I'm really curious about my own thoughts all the time. And also that Osho said, one of the reasons he devised all the cathartic therapies was basically, in the early days, all the Westerners that came to him were severely fucked up. And he always said that Indian people can actually sit and do Vipassana because they've not got the same psychobabble going on. And the Westerners that were all coming, they were so messed up, they had to do a lot of therapy and catharsis first before they could do that. But he did say, in kind of opposition to that, that you can wake up in an instant. You don't need to do all that shit. You don't need to, but you probably do need to if you've got all that stuff. But actually, there will be, when it happens, it will be one instant like that, and then that'll be it. You'll never be able to go back. You know, once you've seen that click, when you've got that click, then you will never go back. Your life will change.
God, that feels so expansive. And I don't know. I mean, I think even hearing you say that, it feels possible, rather than, you know, that idea of having to trudge our way through, you know, fixing ourselves or changing things or whatever. It's that instant change.
Well, I think that's what attracted me to the rapid transformational work I do, is it works on the sense that actually we're going to do this really quickly, you know. It might, I mean, I do it normally. It's normally a 2-hour session with a bit of coaching on the end if you want it. And that doesn't mean that you only do 1 2-hour session. Maybe sometimes people do, other people, because you might have other things you want to work on. But if you've got a particular thing you want to work on that maybe you would go to therapy for yonks, you can go, I've got this problem and I'm going to help dig down into your unconscious mind, and we're going to work it out, and you're going to go, aha, you're going to get that aha moment. So this is what this is all about. So now I've got choices. Now I know that that's in the past. I don't have to let that mess me up again. I can move forward now with a clear vision. Doesn't mean you never think about it again, but you've got choices. You can separate that from where you are now and move forward. And when I learned that technique, it was like, this combines everything that I've been doing for years for me. And I just add on some coaching because I think it's great to have that as well.
Yeah. So can you talk to us a little bit more about that unconscious mind, conscious mind element, and perhaps even how sort of RTT works in that way, or even how meditation kind of fits in?
Yeah. I mean, I think when I learned hypnotherapy a long time ago, and when I first did, it was like, because Osho talks a lot about the fact that we're all in hypnosis because we're all accepting all these information and messages, which is true, and that we're all in some kind of trance. So I became fascinated by it, and I got into it because of a particular thing that happened to me, and it was so dramatic and exciting and interesting. I kind of carried on doing it. And for me, it's like the conscious mind is what we're conscious of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Everything else is the unconscious mind.
Yeah.
We've got subconscious, not everybody agrees with the subconscious, unconscious levels, but everything that's below our consciousness, we're not aware of right now. It might be running our life, but we're not consciously aware of it. And to me, the gift about hypnosis is through hypnosis, I give myself permission to open myself up to that information. It comes up unconsciously, like things happen to us all the time that are coming from those bubbling things underneath. But hypnosis is going, right now, I consciously choose to look down into this. And your unconscious mind then goes, oh, okay, we'll let you have that information. And you can look at it from your conscious mind, like you can get a perspective on it that you might not necessarily allow yourself to do. And I can hold that space for you so you can do that safely. Because if you could do it safely any old time, you would do it. If you could really deal with your issues on a day, well, I'll have a look at that then, because you can with some things, but other things that you're not able to access, you think you need something to help you do that. And I think because your unconscious mind is really, really good at protecting you, that's its job. And it will not let you know those things unless you let it know you want to know. They just fuck you up anyway, but you don't know why they're doing that. Whereas this way you go, aha, so that makes sense now. And once I got that, then I just became so fascinated by digging down into that. And to me, hypnosis is like meditation. It feels really similar. In fact, some people who do the work I do find that people get really scared of the word hypnosis. So they will actually say to them, well, you know what, it's really like meditation because it creates the same kind of woo, there's this kind of blending of the two and you drift in and out. It's really, really similar, especially if you're doing something like Vipassana, where we are very still, very silent. You get these times when you don't even know you're there, and then you wake up again, you come back to your thought, whatever it is you're focusing on, your nose, your leg, or whatever it is. And hypnosis creates that kind of state when you become very open. And it's just wonderful, and it works fast. That's why I like it.
Yeah. And I guess with hypnosis as well, it's so loaded from its like the TV popularity of people doing odd things. They might think something like that's going to happen, but that state. And what do you, so when we enter into that state, that like deep state, sort of like what is that? Where are we going? where, where
No, I don't know if anyone really knows, to be honest. I think we're just going into our consciousness, and no one knows where that ends. You know, that's also what I find really fascinating, is that we think we know a lot, but we know nothing. We know nothing.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm just fascinated by that. Like, I want to know more of what we know and what we don't know. You know, it's like that thing about we know what we know, we know what we don't know, and we don't know what we don't know. You know, that kind of thing. That really fascinates me, because I just, like, it just fascinates me. Just I don't know why, it just does. That's my thing.
And when you were talking about like the conscious mind, subconscious mind, I'm sure I must have read this somewhere or something, but the analogy almost of like an iceberg type thing came to mind. So I guess it's seeing, you know, our conscious mind being that tip that is quite obvious, and then the unconscious or subconscious mind being like the submerged stuff. So is kind of hypnosis and meditation in a way kind of almost like being a diver in that sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're going down, like someone explained it to me years ago, like you're diving, you use your conscious mind to go, I'm going to dive down into this situation, and you pull up bits of information, beliefs, thoughts, whatever it is, whatever's going on with you, to your conscious mind. And what does, if you do that, you become more in, like, if you want to say, like, your conscious mind is where the light is, if you were, you know, you're dipping down into the darkness, and you're bringing stuff up to the light, and you become more enlightened. And the level of the water goes down, and more of the iceberg comes up, and it stays above the surface then, and it just will carry on and carry on and carry on. I don't know if you could do that, you know, how long that could go on forever, because you're never ever going to get the time to know all of that stuff. You know, it's never going to.
And what would your kind of definition be of being enlightened? Or like, have you come across anyone that, you know, especially in the communities that you're living in, stuff like that, that felt like they embodied that state, or kind of
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there are certain people that, and they're very different, the people I've met that are like that. Some people are very like silent and quiet, and other people are just nuts and, you know, like really crazy, funny. But I think that the quality, I think, of someone who I would call enlightened is a person who really loves and accepts himself.
Beautiful.
And that doesn't have to be anybody. I mean, because there are people who are enlightened that are not, like Osho would say, you can, you know, your gardener might be enlightened. You know, they don't necessarily have to have done a load of work on themselves. They just accept, you know, it's that sense of acceptance, you know, not judging yourself all the time, and not even if you do, then you don't care, you know, you don't judge the judgment, you know. It's that sense of, this is it, this is how it is, and there's no need, there's no questing, there's no desperateness to change or do, you know, it's like that sense of settle.
Just being okay with what is.
And that's really attractive. I think that's why gurus and whatever are so attractive. You know, why they attract people is because they've got this sense that's really charismatic, that they're okay with themselves, and that's really unusual to find that in people. But when you do, they're such the easiest people to get on with, because it's not about them anymore. You know, they're not thinking about their trips all the time and what that person thinks of me, or should I be doing that, or have I got the right shirt on, which I thought about before. So obviously I'm not enlightened.
It's a beautiful shirt.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it is. I like it. I like white shirts.
I'm reading this book at the moment, which the title of it is completely gone, but it's he's a PhD professor, and he's writing this book on enlightenment, essentially, and kind of talking about, you know, the kind of the three stages of, or it seems that he's come across in his research, of people are either just naturally that way, you know, they just don't have to work, it just naturally happens, and kind of the second group of people being almost those that are kind of shocked into waking, you know, perhaps through to a bit of trauma, or, you know, a big experience that just, you know, shocks them into waking. And then the other group is that slow and steady, you know, just like the layers are just being peeled off one by one, and So it's quite fascinating to hear your take on
Yeah,
it as well.
it is. And I mean, I've met people over my years who fit in all those categories. You know, I mean, there are many more of the kind that are the questing, seeking, because that's my category of group, I suppose, of people I hang around with. And then there are the odd people I've met who just think, Jesus, how did they, you know, that's incredible. And they just like, they wouldn't even know, really. They wouldn't know what you were talking about even, but you just sense just completely okay with themselves.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. And he talks as
Really
well
at
about
ease. And it's,
the kind of the, you know, those people, it's not about like retreating from life, or like you say, rejecting form or, you know, the material world in any way, but it's just a sense of effortless flow to move through.
yeah,
It is.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Have you ever, did you meet Osho? I don't know, no. Were you in a community
No,
in England, or were you elsewhere?
I lived in a community in England. I was the assistant director of a community in England, in London.
Mm-hmm.
And then he died while I was there.
Okay.
And I'm the only person in my family who never got to go to India. I've never been to India. The others all went. I didn't go because I was busy in this commune in London. And he died before I could get to see him. And prior to that, my two daughters, my ex-husband and I, we took our kids out of school and we travelled all over the place. And we were he was moving around the planet at that time, and we were just going from one bloody place to another, and he would have gone, and then he would have gone, and then would have gone. And we ended up in Italy with in a commune there. And we just thought, you know what, we're spending so much money trying to find this bloke. It's obviously not really meant to be, so we'll just chill out for a bit. We ended up staying in Italy for about 2 months in this exquisite place by the lake, and then came back to London, which was a bit of a change. We all joined this community together, and then within about 2 or 3 years of that, he died. So I never to see him. But the way I got my name was, by the time I took sannyas, there were like thousands and thousands and thousands of people. So it was quite rare by that time to have gone to him and he would have put the mala on your neck. He had a whole load of people. And I got mine sent to me. I did my taking sannyas in a huge commune that used to be in England, in the country. And he had various people that would put your mala on for you. But you got sent a letter from him, and he would choose your name just by looking at you and all the rest of it. And I mean, I was kind of upset about my name because I had a lot of friends who had like really amazing names, you know, like exotic flower of the universe and all that, you know. And my name is Marvi Charya, and it means beyond routine. Which is great, you know, like it's very, because we used to get asked like, are you living your name? So, but what was really funny was at the time I was an aerobics teacher, so my whole life was routines, and it was like doof. And I kept thinking no. And when, of course, people say, like, especially now, well, what does your name mean? You know, beyond routine. Oh, I'm ultimate flower of the universe. Well, you know, really, but actually over the years it's been brilliant. It's really brilliant, because I am a person that kind of gets addicted to routines, you know, and I get disturbed if I don't have my routine. So it's like, am I actually transcending my routines, you know, rather than just being driven by them?
And there'll be a beautiful word for that, you know, in the English language. That our language seems so restricted. You know, friends of mine, like from Sweden and even Germany and stuff like that, like my Swedish friend is always saying, you know, what's the word for, you know, when something slowly moves down a hill and forms into I'm like, I don't know. So maybe you should find out the Swedish, you know, just use that as a description.
Well, when I got the letter, I didn't know, you know, I went round the corner we had a guy from India who ran the post office, and he was a really good friend of mine. I went round the corner, I said, look, I've got my name. He said, you can't have that as a name. He said, that means, and I said, yeah, I know. He said, but you can't have that. He said, well, you can have a Charya, you can have Brahmacharya, but no one's called Charya. He said, that's just, you know. So I said, well, they are now.
It really suits you. I think it's a beautiful name.
I really like it. I mean, and also it's not too exotic, you know, because some people have like, they've got about 15 bloody syllables in their name. You know, mine's really easy.
Yeah. So what made you kind of step away from the sort of the commune living, or sort of that being
well, I went to live in the one in Holland, which is huge, at about 350 people when I was living there. And I was there for about 4 years, and I'd had enough, you know. It was because that one was really, really cathartic therapy stuff.
Okay.
Very, very high energy. I mean, the one we had in London was about 20 of us living together, and some of us went to work and we did stuff, did therapy all the time, but it wasn't. When I went to Holland, that's all it is. You live there, you work there, you do everything there, you hardly ever go out, really. And I was there for quite a long time, and by the time I've been through that, I did a lot of therapy training and all sorts of things there, and by the time I'd finished it, was like I wanted to, and I left. I hooked up with another therapist, and we then went traveling around Europe in our car for 2.5, 3 years, delivering groups and seminars and workshops and whatever all around Europe in other Osho communes. And then I eventually came back to London and just established in 1996 or something, I established my first individual practice over here.
Beautiful. And the thought of you traveling around in your car and stuff, that's very out of routine, isn't it? Or
oh, absolutely. It really shook me up. Because we had, you know, we just used this, we just stopped. I was the only driver. He can't drive, so I would drive, like, you know, Berlin to Cologne to Milan. It was amazing, but exhausting, really exhausting. In the end, it got really, like, not any fun. At first, it was great fun. It was really exciting. Go, oh, off for you again, you know. But then in the end, it's, oh, if I have to get a case again and
have another cup of tea.
Sofa. Yeah, I don't want to sleep on another sofa. Or, you know, like I remember we went from kind of a luxury, wonderful commune in Italy where we had a double, you know, 4-poster bed, to sleeping on someone's sofa, to going and sleeping on a waterbed, all in 3 days, in a week. It was like really mad, you know, really mad. I was getting a bit that. So I've not lived in a community since then. I've lived separate.
So what would you say, kind of your, you know, if there was one bit of advice perhaps from that time in your life, and maybe one bit of advice from you right now, and all the amazing work that you're doing kind of with hypnosis and you know, helping people heal and things like that, kind of, you know, what would be a couple of pieces of advice perhaps from that immersive commune life, and maybe something from right now?
Well, if I'm thinking, well, both actually. I mean, it really does come down to a sense of meditation, whatever that kind of, it's a bit like, it's like focusing on the now and ignoring all the maelstrom, you know, not getting pulled off that center, because if you can do that, then you can be anywhere, manage anything, deal with anything, you know. If you can, like, I don't know what it means to say come back to the self, because the self is just a belief system anyway, but, you know, like that, I think we have to use those terms because it has meaning for people, even if it's meaningless. You know, it's like beliefs are all illusions, but we have to have them, you know, to manage function in the world. It doesn't work otherwise. But
just not attach too much to them, isn't it?
It's just that philosophical stuff, but actually most people talk about things in the way that coming back to the self has a meaning for them and they can sense it. So I think if you can, that's what I think meditation can give us. It can give us that. The work I do can also give you that, because I think it's also because I come from a base in my head of that. I'm trying to help people get back to that fundamentally self-acceptance, whatever's happened to them in their lives and whatever they've been and done and whatever. You know, if they can just go right here, right now, I'm fine, then that's a really wonderful thing to feel and to be able to share with someone.
I wish I could reach through and give you a cuddle.
Ditto.
So if people want to find out a little bit more about your work and your offerings and that sort of thing, where can they find you?
Well, they can call me. directly if they want to, because I'm always open to a chat.
Mm.
But I've also got a website, and my website is www.charyahiltoncoaching.com.
Perfect. And you're on Instagram?
Instagram, and I'm on Facebook.
Yeah.
Those kind of things.
Yeah, perfect.
But I'm not on anything else, actually. I'm only on them. I'm not on LinkedIn or any of those things.
No. So thank you so much. That was a really, really interesting. I scribbled down some notes, so I'm going to look to see what I pulled out of the conversation here. But we kind of started with emotions being energy, sort of energetic forces. And rather than that I'm feeling sad, it's an experience of sadness. That thought decides everything, and meditation helps us find that gap between emotions and thoughts, and to kind of to be with our thoughts. What else have we got here? And that idea of kind of living in an enlightened state is really just a love and acceptance of ourself, where we are and how we are. And to not get pulled off center is kind of where we'll find our freedom, and to really just focus on the now and be with what is. So that's my little summary of our beautiful conversation. But thank you so much for your time today. And everyone, do reach out if you do have any questions or want to get in touch with Charya at all. But thank you so much for today, and I'll hopefully see you again soon.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
Bye-bye.